What is up, viewers? Omar here, and here I'm gonna talk about Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. It's a normal spell card. It's currently 1 right now in the ban list, which states destroy as many monsters on the field as possible. Then spell summon in attack position 2 Kaiju monsters with different names from your deck, 1 on each side, but they cannot change the battle position and must attack if able. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Kaiju monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber per turn. Now, for right now, let's focus on that first effect. The effect to destroy as many monsters as possible and then summon 2 Kaijus from the deck. Now, the big question I've been saying online is, can Slumber be activated if a Kaiju is already on the field? Because for those of you that don't know, Kaijus all have a clause, and I'm looking over here because of my notes, just so I don't get anything wrong or confused or twisted or anything like that. So each kaiju monster, except for 1, which I'll get to later, says you can only control 1 kaiju monster. So at any given time, you may only control 1 kaiju monster at a time. And since Slumber, upon resolution, provides a kaiju to each side, so some people are arguing that, well, you can't activate Slumber because during resolution, each player gets 1, and if there's 1 on either side, well, that makes it invalid, right? Actually, according to the TCG rulings, you can activate Slumber even if a Kaiju monster is on the field, regardless of that clause that only 1 Kaiju monster can be on either side of the field. I'm sorry, if any player can only control 1. So that's kind of weird. The best explanation I can give you is that conjunction between part A and part B of the effects. Destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, then spell summon in attacking position 2 Kaiju monsters with different names from your deck, 1 on each side. Because of the clause then, these effects are considered to happen at the same time, and because the Kaiju monsters themselves don't prevent you from spell summoning monsters, you actually are given a window to destroy all monsters in the field and then summon a Kaiju on both sides. Now keep in mind that you only get to summon the 2 Kaijus if at least 1 monster is destroyed on the field. And also, you cannot activate Slumber if there's a blank field with no monsters, because Slumber needs to destroy 1 target needs to destroy 1 monster, at least 1, for you to summon 2 Kaijus from your deck to the field. So that's how it works. Now I can understand, like I said, I can understand people thinking that Slumber can't be activated because a Kaiju prevents more than 1 to be on the field. Which, to be fair, I would say it. If I were ruling it, I would just say that Slumber can't be activated, only because of that restriction that the Kaijus have, saying that only 1 can be controlled at a time. Which, again, I mean, with that said, I mean, since you can't resolve that card, you would think that, well, you can't blow up the field if you can't even summon the Kaijus upon activation, which I do get. But another card I do want to compare this to is the Kaiju files. Now, the one part that actually matters for this video is, once per turn, you can target 1 Kaiju monster on the field, destroy that monster, then, there it is, then spell summon 1 Kaiju monster with a different name, with a different original name from your deck to its control's field. Now, again, you would think this card is kind of contradicting itself. That's the one I'm looking for. I had to think about it for real quick, because since the Kaijus can only be controlled 1 at a time, but because of this card, because during activation, I can't even talk. During activation, you may target 1, and after that activates upon resolution, you destroy that target and then summon another 1 from your deck. Now, again, like you would think that would be weird, but again, that word "then" makes it so part A and part B happen in different times. They don't happen at the same time. So with Kaiju files, you destroy the monster part A, and then summon another one in its place, part B. Same thing with Slumber. You destroy all monsters in the field, part A, and then summon 2 Kaijus from your deck, part B. So because of that little gap, you actually are given the opportunity to activate Slumber even if Kaiju is on the field. Now another card that does prevent Slumber from being activated, period, is VANITY'S FIEND, which if that's on the field, or even a Fossil Dino, which has basically the same effect, neither player can spare summon monsters. Just period. And because part of the effect of Slumber is to spare summon monsters from the deck, Slumber cannot be activated if these 2 cards, or any card that prevents spare summoning, Slumber cannot be activated under these cards if they're present or their effects are applying on the field. Again, it's a really weird ruling how the TCG has ruled this, only because to me it makes the most sense if Slumber cannot be activated if a Kaiju monster exists on the field, but because the Kaiju monsters, that effect that you may only control one at a time, since that's more of an independent effect, Slumber doesn't really read that. So Slumber can be activated because it has a part A and a part B effect, and because that word "then" is in the text. Now, if the text said something like destroy as many monsters in the field as possible and spare summon 2 Kaijus from the deck, if it said "and" instead of "then", then Slumber can activate, period, only because both effects will happen at the same time. And since they can't happen at the same time, well, that means that Slumber can be activated regardless if a Kaiju monster is on the field or not. So there's that, just so you know. But again, I can see people ruling this either way. So I guess for the time being, just listen to your head judge to whichever event you go to. But as the official TCG ruling, Slumber can be activated if a Kaiju monster is on the field, regardless of its effect saying that you can only control 1 Kaiju monster on the field. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's a complex ruling, but that's the official ruling, and that's the ruling that we all should go by. I've heard cases that online simulators like Yugioh Pro, I don't think that they let you activate Slumber if a Kaiju is on the field. I don't think so. This could be fixed by the time this video goes up. I'm not sure. But just one thing that I should just let you guys know if you plan to play this game in real life and use TCG rulings. Now then, moving on to another subject, summon limit. Neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. So when you activate Slumber on the field and you basically blow up the field and you summon both Kaiju monsters on each side of the field, that counts as 1 summon because you're summoning 1 time. Summoning both monsters is your 1 time, so that counts as 1. That does not count as 2 monsters to your 2 monster limit count per turn. Letting you know that that's 1. So the player that activated Slumber is still given the opportunity to summon 1 more monster. Just letting you know, just a really quick ruling that I should probably throw out there. And because part of the effect of Slumber is to summon monsters from the deck, of course Slumber can be negated by Ash Blossom. So if Ash Blossom negates Slumber upon activation, then Slumber does not destroy all monsters on the field. It does not get that Dark Hole effect applied on the field because Blossom just negates the whole thing, period, which is pretty good. Now I'd like to move on to the second part of the effect, not part B of the summoning of 2 Kaijus, but the graveyard effect that states, during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Kaiju monster from your deck to your hand. So basically, banish this card, add a Kaiju monster. Cool. Ash Blossom also negates this because Ash Blossom also stops searching. Gotta say, Ash Blossom it's just a good card. It's just a really good card. Like, damn, it's really good anti-Kaiju coming up. But a card like Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion, which has the effect that prevents cards from being banished from the graveyard. Keep in mind that Slumber banish part of the effect is a cost to activate the actual effect, which is to search a kaiju monster. So since Slumber banishes itself is not an effect, Ghost Bell cannot negate this because by the time that you're given to respond, Slumber is already banished. So at that point, it's kind of too late for Ghost Bell to respond to that, only because, well, it's banished already as per a cost, and since Ghost Bell doesn't stop cost, it stops actual effects of the cards. And another ruling is Imperial Wall. If Iron Wall is on the field, the graveyard effect of Slumber cannot be activated because as a cost, it must banish itself from the graveyard, and Iron Wall prevents players from banishing cards, period. But if Slumber's graveyard effect to search activates and Iron Wall is chained, again, like Ghost Bell, it doesn't matter because as soon as Iron Wall activates, Slumber is already banished as cost to activate the effect. So Iron Wall being chained to Slumber does nothing in that sense. But as before, if Iron Wall is already face up on the field, then Slumber cannot activate its effect to search at all, only because, well, it can't banish itself in the graveyard because Iron Wall is preventing it. Now one Kaiju monster cannot be summoned to the effect of Slumber, and that's, wow, it has a very long name. Super Anti-Kaiju War Machine Mecha Dogaron. That's a mouthful. The reason why this can't be summoned is because it has its own summon condition, which states cannot be normal summon or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand while your opponent controls a Kaiju monster. Because of that, since it has to be summoned through a certain condition, Slumber cannot cannot summon this card from the deck. So let's say the only two Kaiju in your deck is this card plus something else, mostly Gamma Seal, only because that's probably like the most popular Kaiju monster in the game right now, because it's the weakest one. And obviously, if you Kaiju an opponent's monster, you want to give him the weakest monster as possible. If these two cards are the only ones in your deck when you activate Slumber, that's an illegal activation because there's only one valid target in your deck, and Slumber states that you need two to activate and resolve Slumber. And if you cannot meet that requirement, then you can't activate Slumber to begin with. And also with Slumber, if you have no Kaijus in your deck, well you don't get that Dark Hole effect to actually blow up the field either, because you must be able to summon two Kaijus from your deck. If you can't, then you can't even activate the effect to begin with, and that'll be considered an illegal activation because you don't have the targets in your deck. Now, also another ruling which involves a synchro monster, synchros, is Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, which states neither player can special summon two or more monsters at the same time. That's the only part of the effect that matters in this video. If Spirit Dragon is on the field, Slumber cannot be activated because Spirit Dragon prevents two monsters being summoned at the same time, which like I said before, since Slumber needs to summon two monsters in order to activate, well, if Spirit is on the field, then you can't activate Slumber to begin with. Now, if Slumber is activated and an effect, and your opponent chains an effect, maybe Call Hunted or a Back to the Front, just any effect that will summon Spirit Dragon during the chain. So at that point, what happens is that Spirit Dragon will be summoned, and then Slumber will attempt to resolve as much as possible. Since Spirit Dragon cannot prevent the actual blow up effect of Slumber, Slumber will get at least that blow up effect. And if successful, then you're actually allowed to summon two monsters on the field, because Spirit Dragon is no longer on the field to actually prevent that. Yes, that is correct on what I said. So yeah, so Spirit Dragon will actually prevent Slumber from being activated. But if its summon is being chained to the activation of Slumber, then Spirit Dragon can't prevent that Dark Hole effect of Slumber. And if it leaves the field, then two Kaijus are summoned to the field. If it survives that that Slumber attacked, then the part of the effect, then part B of the effect to summon 2 Kaijus doesn't resolve. Also about that, if a Kaiju monster is on the field while Slumber is being activated, if the opponent chains Forbidden Lance and targets their own Kaiju monster, it will be unaffected by the effect of Slumber, which Lance prevents the monster from being activated. I'm sorry, not activated, from being affected by spell effects. Then you cannot summon 2 Kaijus because again, as before, 2 Kaijus cannot exist on the same side of the field. So because of that, you can't summon either Kaiju on the field, only because it's not like, okay, well since my opponent can't get one, I'm gonna get one and that'll be that. That's not the case. Like, if a Kaiju is still on the field after Slumber destroys as many monsters as possible, even if it destroys one, if a Kaiju still exists on the field after that, then you can't summon 2 Kaijus from your deck, only because only one Kaiju can exist on each field at any given time. And if somehow 2 Kaijus are on the same side of the field, then the newest one that comes along is simply sent to a graveyard, only because it can't be on the field alongside its Kaiju brother or sister, or I mean, I don't know these dragons Kaiju genders, so it could be either or from what I know. So yeah, there's that. Now, one interesting ruling that really did caught my eye is Slumber versus the barrier statues. Now, for those of you that don't know what these cards do, the barrier statues, there's one for each attribute, and they all have the same effect that says no monster can be spell summoned except for their respective attribute. So there's one for each attribute, and as long as it's on the field, neither monster can spell summon monsters of a different attribute. Now the question is, can you activate Slumber if any of these cards are on the field? And the answer is no, you can't. However, there is one exception to this rule, that you actually are allowed to activate Slumber against the barrier statue, and the one that I'm gonna talk about is barrier statue of the heavens, which is the light one. The reason being is because I mean, of course, except for super anti Kaiju War Machine Mecha Dogoran. So it's a long name for a monster, damn. But so this card cannot be spell summoned from the deck with the Slumber effect, only because it has its own summon condition. But excluding him, there is 7 Kaijus in the game right now. There's an Earth one, there's a Water one, Fire, Wind, and Dark, and 2 Light monsters. Now, those 2 Light monsters are going to be important. One is Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, and Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju. Now then, Slumber can be activated if Barrier Statue of the Heavens is on the field, provided that you have those 2 Kaijus that I just mentioned in your deck. Now, keep in mind, at this point in time, if any other Barrier Statue is on the field, any other of the attributes on the field, then Slumber cannot be activated because at this point in time, there's no 2 Kaijus that share those attributes except 2 light monsters. Every Kaiju has his own attribute, but there's 2 Kaijus that have 2 light monsters in their core. Now, the ruling with this is, if Slumber is being attempted to activate while Statue of the Heavens is on the field, then you must have both those monsters in your deck. You must have a Thunder King and you must have a Jizukiru in your deck. Now, in real life, the best way to resolve this is to simply show to your opponent that controls Statue of the Heavens, or vice versa, whoever activates Slumber must then show their opponent that they do have 2 bad targets that can summon under Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Because if they don't have these cards, then their activation is invalid, therefore illegal. Now, upon resolution, if they do have those 2 cards in the deck under Heavens being on the field, then Slumber can be activated. However, since Slumber has two parts, a part A and a part B, part A being destroying as many cards as possible on the field, and part B summoning 2 Kaiju on the field, part A will destroy Statue of the Heavens from the field, and then part B will allow the player that activated Slumber to summon 2 Kaijus. Now, because Statue is already gone from the field, the player that activated Slumber can actually, at this point, summon any Kaiju they want from the deck. It does not have to be those 2 light Kaiju monsters from the deck, only because Statue is already wiped off from the field, which therefore the opponent that's playing Kaijus is no longer limited to only summoning those 2 light monsters to the field. They may summon summon a Gamma Seal from their deck if they wish to, only because, well, Heavens is not on the field anymore, so I'm not being restricted at all of only summoning those 2 cards to the field. Now, again, like I'm saying, Slumber can only be activated if Statue of the Heavens is on the field, if the player playing Kaijus has those 2 monsters to the deck. Now, in the future, some more Kaijus can be released, so obviously there'll be an updated ruling on this. If there's more Wind Kaijus, more Earth Kaijus, or whatever or whatever other attribute there is, or even more Light Kaijus, only because that will provide more targets when you activate Slumber against a barrier statue. But at this point in time, it's only possible to activate Slumber against a barrier statue if that barrier statue is the light one, Statue of the Heavens, and only if the player that activates Slumber has 2 valid targets they can summon under Heavens, which again, like I said, it'll be Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, and Jizokiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju, because those are the only Kaijus that actually share an attribute other than, of course, I'll say his name again, Super Anti-Kaiju War Machine Mecha Dogoran, which is also a light monster, but again, it doesn't matter because this card cannot be summoned through Slumber anyway. So besides him, the only other Kaijus that actually share an attribute are those 2 light ones. And there's no double dark Kaiju, there's no double dark Earth, Fire, Wind, whatever, Water. There's no double of those Kaijus out there. There's 1 each, and 3 light Kaijus. Obviously, the long ass name Kaiju 1 cannot be summoned to Slumber. So at this point, there's only 2 light Kaijus in the game right now that can be summoned through Slumber under the effect of Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Alright guys, well that was a basically mouthful. I hope I answered a lot of questions, just because that one ruling about how Slumber can be activated even if a Kaiju is on the field is a bit annoying. I can understand the confusion. Like, again, I would have ruled it that you can't activate it, period, if a Kaiju is on the field. But to be fair, I mean, after reading the card and actually getting my understanding, the effect does have 2 parts, a part A and a part B. Now you would think a card under like VANITY'S Emptiness, I must have moved my camera a little bit because it kind of shook. But you would think under VANITY'S Emptiness, like, that you can't activate it, period. But because VANITY'S Emptiness, that's a ban card, not him. VANITY'S Fiend, there you go, VANITY'S Fiend. Now because it does block burst summons, and since the Slumber has a mandatory effect to actually summon the Kaijus after you Dark Hole the field, you can't activate Slumber, period, only because VANITY'S Fiend actually does prevent that. So again, just a ruling you should know. So I will say it loud and clear: Slumber can be activated if there's a Kaiju on the field, regardless of Kaiju's effect that says you can only control 1 Kaiju. You get that? Complicated? I know, complicated. But I'm here to make things easier for you guys. Alright guys, well with that said, that'll be the end of my video. And stick tuned for some more rulings, because I got quite a bit to share with you guys. There you go. I'm working on my talking, and I will get better at it. Alright guys, till next time. Peace.